Mind if I ask what you do for work?
I'm in tech, software development.
How long have you had this vehicle?
Bought it last spring. Been treating me good so far.
Is it registered to you?
Yeah, title and everything's in my name.
It starts as a moment so small most people wouldn't think twice about it. A man pulls into a gas station. Late afternoon, normal traffic, nothing unusual. He steps out of his car and starts pumping gas, minding his own business. That's when a police officer walks up and starts asking questions. Not about a crime, not about a call for service, just questions. At first, they sound casual, friendly even, but very quickly they start feeling uncomfortable. The officer doesn't activate lights, doesn't announce a detention, doesn't explain why he's there. Instead, he slowly circles the vehicle. A luxury car, clean, new, expensive. The officer looks it over carefully, taking his time, like he's waiting for something to jump out at him. Then the questions start. Where are you coming from? What do you do for work? How long have you owned this vehicle? Is it registered in your name? The man answers calmly, clearly confused about why any of this matters. He hasn't committed a traffic violation. He hasn't been reported. He's not acting suspicious. He's just pumping gas. And yet the questions keep coming. The officer repeats himself, rephrases things, probes a little deeper. At no point does he explain the reason for the encounter. Then the interaction shifts, not because of yelling, not because of raised voices, not because of force, but because of implication. The officer suggests that something about the situation doesn't quite add up. The words are vague, but the message is clear. The man pauses and asks a simple question. Am I being detained? The officer doesn't give a straight answer. Instead, he sidesteps it and asks for identification. This moment matters more than it seems, because under the law, an officer can't demand ID unless there's reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred. And so far, none has been stated. The man hesitates, then complies. Not because he has to, but because he's trying to keep things calm. The body cam keeps rolling. The officer studies the ID longer than necessary, glances back at the car, then back at the man. He keeps fishing. Minutes pass. People walk by. Cars pull in and out of the station. Nothing happens. Eventually, the officer hands the ID back. No citation, no arrest, no explanation. He walks away like the encounter never mattered. But it did, because the entire interaction was recorded, and when that footage becomes public, it spreads fast. Viewers notice the same things almost immediately. There was no crime, no call for service, no reason given, just questions and assumptions. Comment sections fill up with the same reactions. Why was he stopped? Why was his job relevant? Why did the officer need his ID? Civil rights attorneys noticed too. And that's when the story really begins. As more context comes out, people learn who the man actually is. He's a tech CEO, a founder who built a successful company from the ground up, someone who can more than afford the car he was driving, but that detail doesn't excuse the encounter. If anything, it highlights the problem, because constitutional rights don't depend on your title, your income, or your profession. Months later, the man files a federal civil rights lawsuit. The claim is straightforward. He was approached and questioned without reasonable suspicion. He was asked about his finances without cause. He was effectively detained without justification. The lawsuit alleges violations of the Fourth Amendment. Specifically, the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. The city initially pushes back. They argue the encounter was consensual. A simple conversation, a casual interaction. But the body cam footage complicates that argument, because the officer's tone, positioning, and repeated questioning suggest authority, not casual curiosity. Legal experts point out a key issue. When an officer implies you're not free to leave, the encounter is no longer consensual. And when an officer asks for ID without legal grounds, that line has already been crossed. The case survives a motion to dismiss. That's significant. It means a judge believes there's enough evidence for the claims to move forward. Discovery begins. Internal emails are requested. Training materials are reviewed. Prior complaints involving the same officer are examined. patterns start to emerge. Not necessarily dramatic ones, not viral ones, but familiar ones. Overstepping, poor judgment, a lack of clear boundaries. Experts are brought in. Former officers testify that the questions asked during the encounter were inappropriate without a stated reason. Legal analysts explain that just asking questions can still violate rights when backed by police authority. As the case inches closer to trial, the city reassesses its position. Trials are risky, juries can be unpredictable, and bodycam footage is hard to explain away. Eventually, the city makes a decision. They settle. Not quietly, not insignificantly. The man is awarded a substantial financial settlement, public funds, taxpayer money. As is typical in these cases, the city does not admit wrongdoing, but they agree to pay damages and cover legal fees. Behind the scenes, changes follow. The officer involved is disciplined. Additional training is mandated. Policies surrounding consensual encounters are reviewed and clarified. Supervisors emphasize the importance of articulating reasonable suspicion. For the man, the outcome isn't about the money. He's already successful. It's about accountability. It's about creating a record that says this wasn't acceptable. Because encounters like this don't just affect one person. They shape how communities view policing. They determine whether people feel safe going about their daily lives. This case becomes a reminder of something simple but critical. Police authority has limits, and questions, even calm, polite ones, still require justification. Body cameras don't just capture crime, they capture behavior. They capture decisions made in quiet moments. And sometimes, they tell a story no one expected to hear.